Feeling stuck? Yearning for more? You're in the right place. This is Midlife Moxie with Nicole Haight, where you're going to get a weekly dose of courage, clarity, and maybe a little bit of chaos as we navigate our best chapter yet, midlife.
Welcome back to Midlife Moxie with Nicole Haight. Last week, we excavated the art of boundaries, the word no, and we began dismantling performance addiction that keeps us saying yes to everything. Today, we're going to go deeper into nervous system patterns that make us prime real estate for what is better known as energy vampires. Now, before you roll your eyes and think that this is some woo-woo energy work, it's not. I'm talking about nervous system science, conditioning patterns that literally live in your body, making you an all-you-can-eat buffet for people who drain your life force. Here's what I need you to understand. Energy vampires aren't just difficult people. They're emotional parasites who have unconsciously trained themselves to extract life force from women like you. Women whose nervous systems were conditioned to equate worth with service, peace with self-abandonment, and love with accommodation. You know you've encountered one because your body tells you. You walk away from that person feeling heavier, like your nervous system just ran a marathon. Or you may feel foggy or disconnected from your own inner knowing. And then there's the familiar cocktail of guilt and exhaustion that no amount of sleep can fix. If you're a high-functioning woman with a history of performance addiction, you might as well have a neon sign above your head that reads, Nervous System Buffet, all you can drain. You see, your subconscious mind has signed contracts that you really never have agreed to consciously. Energy vampires operate on subconscious contracts, unspoken agreements that they believe exist between you and them. Contracts like, your nervous system exists to regulate mine. You owe me access, attention, and accommodation. Your boundaries are betrayals of our relationship. But here's the secret. If you've spent decades being the reliable one, the helper, the emotional support human for everyone in your life, your nervous system has been trained to honor these contracts. You've been conditioned to believe that other people's comfort is your responsibility. And this isn't your fault. This is how the good woman industrial complex operates. It trains us from childhood to earn our worth through service, to buy safety through accommodation, to secure love through self-abandonment. Here are 8 energy vampire patterns that target your nervous system. Each of these are dead giveaways, not just for identifying them, but for understanding how they specifically target your conditioned nervous system. Pattern 1, they guilt you for rest, saying things like, must be nice to have all that time. You see, they interpret your self-care as abandonment to their nervous system. So they do the only thing they know. they unconsciously punish you for it. Your performance addicted nervous system hears this as being I'm selfish and immediately moves to fix their discomfort. Pattern 2, they trauma dump without consent. They entirely skip the basic human courtesy of asking if you have capacity. And then they unload their emotional weight like your mind is their personal landfill. Why? Because your nervous system was trained to hold other people's pain, and they can sense this as accommodation programming from a mile away. Pattern 3, they ask for help, then reject it. You offer solutions, but they refuse all of it. You see, they don't want help. They want a hostage. They want you to sit in their discomfort indefinitely because misery loves company. And yet again, your nervous system has been trained to prioritize their comfort over your energy. Pattern 4, they make everything about them. Your joy becomes, that must be nice. Your struggle becomes, oh, that reminds me of when they're allergic to not being the center of gravity because they've learned to regulate their nervous system through constant attention. And you've been trained to feed it. Pattern 5, they rewrite reality. They say things like, that hurt me. Or they say, you're too insensitive. Otherwise known as gaslighting and minimizing, because acknowledging your experience would require them to take some responsibility. Your people-pleasing nervous system has been trained to doubt your own perceptions to keep peace. Pattern 6, they can't celebrate you. Your growth and your wins in life threaten the dynamic where they're the central figure. Your evolution reminds them of their stagnation. Your success makes them uncomfortable because it disrupts their nervous system's need for superiority and control. Pattern 7, they only reach out when they need something. You see, you're not their friend. You're their personal 911 service. The connection isn't mutual. And your nervous system has trained to be grateful for any attention, even transactional attention. Pattern 8, they're emotionally entitled. They believe that they're owed your time, energy, and presence. When you set boundaries or say the word no, suddenly you're the problem. Your nervous system has been conditioned to believe that saying no somehow makes you a bad person. So let's change the context for a new reality. Traditional boundary advice sometimes does get it wrong because it assumes you could just think your way into different responses. But These patterns live deep in your nervous system, not in your mind. They likely were installed during your developmental years when your survival actually depended on reading the room and keeping everyone happy. Your nervous system has learned that conflict equals danger, that other people's discomfort means you're unsafe, that your worth depends on your utility to others. So when an energy vampire activates these patterns, you're not just dealing with a difficult person. You're dealing with decades of conditioning that's been deeply wired and rooted into your body's automatic responses. So let's talk about energy vampires in different areas of life and maybe some strategies to work with them. You have the workplace energy vampires. Now, these hit your professional identity because they're colleagues who dump their work on you, might be a boss that takes credit for work that you've done, or clients who just frankly demand constant attention. The advantage? Limited exposure and clearer professional boundaries are something that you can invoke. You can say something like, I'm not available for a drop in at my desk, or a Zoom chat that's scheduled 15 minutes before you want to meet with me. Let's schedule a time together to talk through an issue or a problem. And then, and this is the crucial part, end the conversation when that agreed upon time is up. So if you agree to a 15-minute meeting with someone, you're going to hold them to that 15 minutes and not extend it. And documenting everything in the workplace can be very, very beneficial for anyone who might try to gaslight you. And yes, if you need to have a physical barrier, maybe it's at your desk at work, or a way that you turn yourself away from an entry point in order for you to get some work done, maybe that's what you have to do as well. Let's talk about family energy vampires, because these can be the most challenging. They have decades of practice pushing your specific buttons. They know exactly which guilt trips worked on you at any age of life, be it when you were 15 or when you were 50. And they still use them against you. Family members may say things like, after all I've done for you, or that's not how I raised you, or maybe family always comes first. Your nervous system hears these as threats to belonging, which then feel like threats to survival. So maybe this looks like planning visits with family members with a clear start and a clear end time. Or have some pre-prepared neutral responses when a common guilt trip might come into conversation. Something like when your mother says, "You never call." Notice how your nervous system wants to defend, explain, or apologize. And then simply acknowledge without the guilt trip. Next, we have social energy vampires. These are the friends or neighbors or acquaintances who call only when they need something. And then they turn conversations into competitions. that subtly undermines your confidence. Many times, protecting your energy from these people gets interpreted as rejection. But this couldn't be further from the truth. You're not cutting them off in rejection. You're just creating healthy parameters for engagement. So let's talk about some strategies that can also work for you. The most effective protection that happens is within the nervous system, not at the mental level. It's not the brain gymnastics. It's not the thinking out of the plan. You first have to be aware of your body's signals that it's giving you. Your body always knows before your mind does. And no, I cannot clarify in any exact science form about this, but I know, and I know you know. Think about it. When somebody said something that inflicts a deeply rooted emotion in you at the negative level, you might feel tightness in your chest. You might clench your jaw. You might put your hands into a fist. Notice that you're suddenly feeling very tired and fatigued. Or there's always the familiar dread that comes into the stomach. These aren't just feelings, they're intelligence. Next, interrupt the pattern before it fully activates. The moment that you have that feeling within your body, where that energy drain begins, address it. Don't wait until you're completely depleted and then resentful, because that's when we explode in ways that we later regret. And practice boundary setting. This ties in with last week's podcast, but it is worth saying again, because it isn't just about saying the word no. It's saying no from a regulated body system. When you're centered, grounded, and rooted in your bodies, your boundaries come from clarity, not reactivity. Fourth, create discharge rituals. After having an interaction with an energy vampire, you'll likely need to discharge the energy that you've just absorbed and taken on. If it's convenient, maybe you take a shower and you visualize washing away the heaviness that they just put on you. Maybe it's going outside and taking a quick walk. Or maybe it's talking to a friend who is supportive, who can listen and help you process your emotions. I want to give you some permission here, because I want you to understand that your feelings are valid. Your energetic boundaries are sacred. Your need to protect your life force is not only acceptable, it's essential. You're not imagining the drain. You're not being too sensitive. You're not overreacting. Your body is giving you valuable information about who and what depletes you versus who and what nourishes you. This isn't about demonizing people. We all have moments when we need more support than we can give. The difference is pattern and awareness. Energy vampires engage in these draining behaviors consistently. and they're often unconscious about the impact that they have on others. Protecting yourself from energy vampires isn't about cutting people off, although there are times where that may be necessary for your well-being. It's about rewriting the subconscious contracts that have already been fostered in your system. You're not responsible for managing other people's emotions, and you are not responsible for solving their problems or filling their emptiness. You are not responsible for sacrificing your energy to keep them comfortable. You are responsible for honoring your own energy and setting boundaries from a regulated nervous system and engaging from choice rather than conditioned obligation. When you protect your energy, you're not just preserving your resources, you're modeling something revolutionary. You're showing other women that it's possible to be loving without being depleted, supportive without being sacrificial, kind without being taken advantage of. You're demonstrating that your energy is valuable. Your presence is a gift. Your time is precious. And you get to choose how and with whom you share these resources. This is a sacred rebellion against a culture that taught you to earn worth through service, to buy safety through accommodation, to secure love through self-abandonment. So I have a resurrection challenge for you this week, should you want to take it on. I want you to identify one energy draining relationship and implement one specific protection strategy that I've previously discussed. Pay attention to what happens in your body. Notice your body's signals before, during, and after the interaction. Journal about what you observe, not just the mental thoughts, but any physical sensations or body responses or even energy shifts. This is nervous system rewiring work, and you won't perfect it overnight. Your body learned these accommodation patterns over decades. So it's going to take some time, patience, and practice to install new patterns of energetic integrity. You will have moments of doubt, moments when you slip back into old patterns, but that's not failure, that's just learning. Notice it, reset, and try again. Your energy is not unlimited, and it's not meant to be available to anyone who demands it. It's not selfish to protect it. It's sacred. You are not a service station for other people's emotional needs. You're not a dumping ground for their unprocessed pain. You are not responsible for regulating their nervous systems at the expense of your own. Your energy is a birthright. Protecting it isn't mean, it's necessary. It's not selfish, it's sacred. That's our time today on Midlife Moxie with Nicole Haight. If that hit a little different today, I want you to know that what you're experiencing isn't just recognition, It's your body finally feeling permission to protect what's precious. Until then, may you recognize the energy vampires in your life, trusting your body's wisdom about who deserves access to your sacred resources, and experience the freedom that comes from breaking all of those subconscious contracts once and for all. And remember, you're not broken, you're buried. And it's time to excavate the woman who was never meant to be anyone's all-you-can-eat buffet. Before you go, I want to make sure that you know how to stay connected to this work. Because what we have talked about today, this is just the beginning. If you're sitting there thinking, holy shit, she just described my entire life, and you want to know exactly what patterns are running the show in your life, I've created something specifically for you. You can head on over to my website, www.nicolehaight.com, and take the assessment, which sacred pattern is running your midlife. It's a free diagnostic tool that will tell you exactly where you are in your own conditioning and what your next steps should be. There's no fluff, no generic advice, just precise information about your specific patterns. Because here's the thing, you can't interrupt what you can't see. And most women are trying to change their lives without understanding the deeper nervous system conditioning that is actually driving their choices. If you want to dive deeper into these conversations and connect with other women who are also done performing their way through life, you can join my private Facebook group. Link will be in the show notes. And it's where we have conversations, real, raw, unfiltered truth about women in midlife. And if you want to be on my VIP list for weekly doses of truth that maybe help keep you accountable to your own transformation, there is a link in the show notes, but there's also a link at my website, www.nicolehaight.com, where you can sign up to be on my email list. This isn't a typical newsletter filled with tips and inspiration, though I do include that from time to time. This is a newsletter where I share hard truths, insights, raw, unfiltered things that are just not socially acceptable on social media. And these awarenesses that you can take away from what I share can be a catalyst for change. So I invite you to sign up. And if you're ready to go even deeper, because you might be tired of all of this surface level work and you really want a whole system level transformation, everything you need to know about working with me is on my website, www.nicolehaight.com. I'm not a coach, and this isn't coaching, and it's not therapy. And it's sure as hell not spiritual bypassing. This is a resurrection of the nervous system. And this is for the woman who is ready to stop performing and start living. You can also follow me on Instagram, Threads, and YouTube at I am Nicole Haight, where I share reminders about conditioning and women and midlife, confronting truths and desires that are just frankly not up for negotiation. So next week we will continue to have discussions that likely will make some of you squirm. It is what I'm best at. But if this episode shifted something for you, do me a favor and leave a review. Not because I need an ego boost, but because there are women out there who are Googling, why do I feel invisible in my own life at 2 a.m.? And your review might be what helps them find this podcast. Your review could also be the breadcrumb that leads another woman out of performance prison and into her own resurrection. So until next week, remember, you don't need permission to want what you want. You never did. That was just conditioning dressed up as consideration. You're a woman in midlife. You don't need permission. You just need to have desires and wants and the ability to go after all of them. So stop asking and start claiming.